Chapter 27 Refining Magic Power. After handing the snow god token to Liu Feng, Li Daoxian and his companion did not linger for long. After explaining some basic information about the snow god guards, they got up to take their leave. Although Liu Feng repeatedly tried to persuade them to stay, Li Daoxian and his companion's purpose in traveling was to find a peerless genius hidden among the common people, so they naturally could not waste a few days at the Liu family's residence. Therefore, they left the Marquis's mansion that very evening. The lively atmosphere in the courtyard continued until late at night before finally subsiding. In the stillness of the night, a waning moon hangs above the treetops. Despite the pitch-black night, Liu Feng's room remained brightly lit. On the clean and spacious bed, Liu Feng sat cross-legged in the center, fully clothed, with steam rising from his head. Not long after seeing Li Daoxian and the other two off, he felt a surge of energy within his elemental power. According to Liu Feng's prediction, it would take at least 10 days to half a month for him to advance to the third rank. However, after several battles today, his magic power had become exceptionally refined, showing signs of a breakthrough in his realm. Such an opportunity was rare, and Liu Feng didn't want to miss it, so as soon as he returned to his room, he immediately cleared his mind of distractions and focused all his energy on breaking through the barrier. Unlike swordsmen, magic swordsmen have only 5 stages at each level, with 2 stages for refining magic power, when advancing to the 3rd rank and when breaking through to the 5th rank. As the surrounding wind elements continued to circulate and gradually entered Liu Feng's body, undergoing a cycle of compression, the magic power in his dantian began to accumulate. From a wisp at first, it later became like a ribbon, clearly distinct from the faint elemental power. It can be said that magic and elemental power are essentially the same, but magic is more advanced and pure. 1 hour. 2 hours. As the night passed and dawn broke, the servants of the Liu family got up and began their work for the new day. However, the lights were still on in Liu Feng's room. It's unclear how much time has passed outside, but around Liu Feng, an incredibly dense cyan energy began to circulate rapidly. Inside the room, seemingly drawn by an inexplicable force, an invisible airflow formed an inward-facing vortex centered on Liu Feng, causing all the objects in the room to float. The next moment, a strange fluctuation spread from Liu Feng's dantian, and the floating object immediately fell back down, bursting into a noisy sound. It's done. Slowly exhaling a breath of stale air, Liu Feng opened his eyes, a ray of light shooting out from them and flashing in the void. Extending his palm, a stream of cyan energy slowly flowed and gathered in Liu Feng's hand. This was magic power, a brand new kind of energy. In fact, Liu Feng conservatively estimated that he was not even 50% sure he could break through to the 3rd rank, maybe only 30% or 40%. After all, refining magic power is not that simple. It requires a long time to refine and compress the wind element. The difficulty of improving a magic swordsman is more than 4 or 5 times greater than that of an ordinary swordsman. Of course, the combat power of a magic swordsman is also incomparable to that of an ordinary swordsman. A 3rd-rank magic swordsman can already rival an ordinary swordsman of the 6th rank or above. It's rare for an average person to break through 3 levels in 2 months. After all, each level requires a period of consolidation. Only someone like Liu Feng, who has accumulated knowledge and experience, can achieve such great success in a short time. Born into a family of swordsmen, Liu Feng originally possessed exceptional aptitude for swordsmanship. However, due to his weak physique, he was unable to embark on the path of cultivation. But after being possessed by Liu Feng from the future world, this aptitude was quickly unleashed. Coupled with 10 times the mental strength of an ordinary person, it was normal for his cultivation level to soar in a short period of time. Magic is much purer than elemental power. If Liu Feng were to fight Lu Qingxue again now, he would be confident that he could defeat her in just a few moves, easily and without much effort. From this moment on, he deserves to be called a demon swordsman. Before that, he could only be called an elemental swordsman at best. Pushing open the door, Liu Feng walked into the courtyard. Although he hadn't slept all night, he was still in good spirits and showed no signs of fatigue. By the lake, a figure was practicing swordsmanship. Each move was extremely slow, just like practicing Tai Chi in his previous life. However, Liu Feng knew that the Liu family slow sword before him was completely different from practicing Tai Chi and contained a great deal of killing intent. The figure was Liu Tianchen. Although he had drunk himself into a stupor yesterday, for someone of his cultivation level, a little bit of alcohol could be dispelled with his true qi. So, no matter how much he drank yesterday, it didn't affect his ability to get up early today. Feng, you're up so early today. Upon noticing Liu Feng's figure, Liu Tianchen stopped what he was doing and smiled. Liu Feng shook his head. I had some insights last night, so I've been cultivating and haven't slept. After carefully examining Liu Feng's aura, a hint of surprise flashed in Liu Tianchen's eyes. You've broken through to the 3rd rank? Just broke through. Real? Liu Tianchen had only spoken subconsciously, but he was stunned for a moment by Liu Feng's affirmative answer. Then, he was overjoyed. If breaking through 2 levels in 2 months was genius, then breaking through 3 levels in a row was even more incredible. This was far beyond the speed of a normal person. Even Liu Tianchen was shocked and couldn't believe it. Liu Feng pushed his magic power to its limit, and an extremely powerful and domineering aura emanated from his body. This aura was already faintly at the peak of the 3rd rank, just 1 step away from advancing to the 4th rank. How is this possible? Liu Tianchen exclaimed in horror. He broke through to the peak of the 3rd tier immediately. Anyone else would probably think they were mistaken. Actually, it's not that Liu Feng has reached the peak of the 3rd tier, but rather that he has just entered the 3rd tier. However, among swordsmen of the same tier, the aura of a magic swordsman is much stronger than that of an ordinary swordsman, so on the surface, he appears to be at the peak of the 3rd tier, but in reality, that's not the case. Chapter 27: Refining Magic Power. After handing the snow god token to Liu Feng, Li Daoxian and his companion did not linger for long. After explaining some basic information about the snow god guards, they got up to take their leave. Although Liu Feng repeatedly tried to persuade them to stay, Li Daoxian and his companion's purpose in traveling was to find a peerless genius hidden among the common people, so they naturally could not waste a few days at the Liu family's residence. Therefore, they left the Marquis's mansion that very evening. The lively atmosphere in the courtyard continued until late at night before finally subsiding. In the stillness of the night, a waning moon hangs above the treetops. Despite the pitch-black night, Liu Feng's room remained brightly lit. On the clean and spacious bed, Liu Feng sat cross-legged in the center, fully clothed, with steam rising from his head. Not long after seeing Li Daoxian and the other 2 off, he felt a surge of energy within his elemental power. According to Liu Feng's prediction, it would take at least 10 days to half a month for him to advance to the 3rd rank. However, after several battles today, his magic power had become exceptionally refined, showing signs of a breakthrough in his realm. Such an opportunity was rare, and Liu Feng didn't want to miss it, so as soon as he returned to his room, he immediately cleared his mind of distractions and focused all his energy on breaking through the barrier. Unlike swordsmen, magic swordsmen have only 5 stages at each level, with 2 stages for refining magic power, when advancing to the 3rd rank and when breaking through to the 5th rank. As the surrounding wind elements continued to circulate and gradually entered Liu Feng's body, undergoing a cycle of compression, the magic power in his dantian began to accumulate. From a wisp at first, it later became like a ribbon, clearly distinct from the faint elemental power. It can be said that magic and elemental power are essentially the same, but magic is more advanced and pure. 1 hour. 2 hours. As the night passed and dawn broke, the servants of the Liu family got up and began their work for the new day. However, the lights were still on in Liu Feng's room. It's unclear how much time has passed outside, but around Liu Feng, an incredibly dense cyan energy began to circulate rapidly. Inside the room, seemingly drawn by an inexplicable force, an invisible airflow formed an inward-facing vortex centered on Liu Feng, causing all the objects in the room to float. The next moment, A strange fluctuation spread from Liu Feng's dantian, and the floating object immediately fell back down, bursting into a noisy sound. "It's done." Slowly exhaling a breath of stale air, Liu Feng opened his eyes, a ray of light shooting out from them and flashing in the void. Extending his palm, a stream of cyan energy slowly flowed and gathered in Liu Feng's hand. This was magic power, a brand new kind of energy. In fact, Liu Feng conservatively estimated that he was not even 50% sure he could break through to the third rank, maybe only 30% or 40%. After all, refining magic power is not that simple. It requires a long time to refine and compress the wind element. The difficulty of improving a magic swordsman is more than 4 or 5 times greater than that of an ordinary swordsman. Of course, the combat power of a magic swordsman is also incomparable to that of an ordinary swordsman. A third-rank magic swordsman can already rival an ordinary swordsman of the 6th rank or above. It's rare for an average person to break through 3 levels in 2 months. After all, each level requires a period of consolidation. Only someone like Liu Feng, who has accumulated knowledge and experience, can achieve such great success in a short time. Born into a family of swordsmen, Liu Feng originally possessed exceptional aptitude for swordsmanship. However, due to his weak physique, he was unable to embark on the path of cultivation. But after being possessed by Liu Feng from the future world, this aptitude was quickly unleashed. Coupled with 10 times the mental strength of an ordinary person, it was normal for his cultivation level to soar in a short period of time. Magic is much purer than elemental power. If Liu Feng were to fight Lu Qingxue again now, he would be confident that he could defeat her in just a few moves, easily and without much effort. From this moment on, he deserves to be called a demon swordsman. Before that, he could only be called an elemental swordsman at best. Pushing open the door, Liu Feng walked into the courtyard. Although he hadn't slept all night, he was still in good spirits and showed no signs of fatigue. By the lake, a figure was practicing swordsmanship. Each move was extremely slow, just like practicing Tai Chi in his previous life. However, Liu Feng knew that the Liu family slow sword before him was completely different from practicing Tai Chi and contained a great deal of killing intent. The figure was Liu Tianchen. Although he had drunk himself into a stupor yesterday, for someone of his cultivation level, a little bit of alcohol could be dispelled with his true qi. So, no matter how much he drank yesterday, it didn't affect his ability to get up early today. "Fenger, you're up so early today." Upon noticing Liu Feng's figure, Liu Tianchen stopped what he was doing and smiled. Liu Feng shook his head. "I had some insights last night, so I've been cultivating and haven't slept." After carefully examining Liu Feng's aura, a hint of surprise flashed in Liu Tianchen's eyes. "You've broken through to the third rank?" "Just broke through." "Real?" Liu Tianchen had only spoken subconsciously, but he was stunned for a moment by Liu Feng's affirmative answer. Then he was overjoyed. If breaking through 2 levels in 2 months was genius, then breaking through 3 levels in a row was even more incredible. This was far beyond the speed of a normal person. Even Liu Tianchen was shocked and couldn't believe it. Liu Feng pushed his magic power to its limit, and an extremely powerful and domineering aura emanated from his body. This aura was already faintly at the peak of the third rank, just 1 step away from advancing to the 4th rank. "How is this possible?" Liu Tianchen exclaimed in horror. "He broke through to the peak of the 3rd tier immediately. Anyone else would probably think they were mistaken. Actually, it's not that Liu Feng has reached the peak of the 3rd tier, but rather that he has just entered the 3rd tier. However, among swordsmen of the same tier, the aura of a magic swordsman is much stronger than that of an ordinary swordsman, so on the surface, he appears to be at the peak of the 3rd tier, but in reality, that's not the case." "Yi Xianxian is your girlfriend?" "How could that be? Are you kidding me?" Liu Feng's expression changed. He quickly looked around and breathed a sigh of relief only after confirming that no one had heard him. He couldn't say such things carelessly. If Yi Xuanxuan's army of suitors found out, he would have a hard time getting along at the academy. Jia Fu looked incredulous, then said something that almost made Liu Feng's eyes pop out. "Stop pretending. Yi Xianxian has already admitted it. What? Liu Feng almost jumped up, his expression one of utter shock. Admit it? Admit what? It seems like he's barely spoken a few words to her. Besides, how can someone call someone his girlfriend when they've never even held hands? Although he does have some feelings for this talented woman, he can't just take the blame for something like this. Jia Fu looked at him strangely. You don't know? You're a celebrity at the university now. Not only have you written several famous poems, but you've also won over the goddess in every boy's heart. You can't help but be famous. What's going on? It seems I'll have to ask him directly. Liu Feng was extremely frustrated. Logically speaking, Yi Xianxian shouldn't be such a casual woman. It's very strange that she would say such a thing. Thinking of this, Liu Feng no longer hesitated and transformed into a gust of wind, rushing out of the school like lightning. What incredible speed! Jia Fu exclaimed in amazement, nodding to himself. Someone who catches the eye of a goddess is truly extraordinary. I guess I'll have to find him to learn his womanizing skills another day. Jia Fu's face was full of regret. On the main road of the university, one can occasionally see groups of students scattered along the roadside. With Liu Feng's appearance, many eyes were drawn to him. Although many people had never seen him before, word spread quickly, and many people knew his general appearance. This person looks a bit like that Liu Feng, doesn't he? Some sharp-eyed passers-by quickly noticed the resemblance. The person next to him had a bright look in their eyes. Hey, now that you mention it, it's really true. It's not just similar, it's practically identical. Why imitate that bastard? It's heartbreaking to even think about it. Damn it, my goddess, a beautiful flower stuck in cow dung, the first person said bitterly. What's most infuriating is that even though I'm so handsome, Missy didn't take a liking to me, but instead fell for that brat Liu Feng, whose looks are clearly far inferior to mine. Hearing all these people's words, Liu Feng felt both amused and exasperated. He had been caught in the crossfire, becoming the public enemy of the male students in the academy after only a month away. Following the main road, Liu Feng arrived at the entrance of the dining hall next to the elegant garden. He found a clean place to sit down. It was almost lunchtime, and he believed that Yi Xianxian would appear soon. Once I see her, all the mysteries will probably be solved. This wait was soon over. After an incense stick had burned, the familiar blue figure appeared before them. However, next to the girl was an unfamiliar young man in blue. Xianxian, your Yi family and our Lin family are old friends. Although your father is the lord of Xianzhou Prefecture, my aunt is also a concubine in the imperial palace. My Lin family is a royal relative, so we're a good match. Your father will never object to us being together. The young man in blue was handsome, but his face was slightly effeminate. His eyes kept wandering over the girl's graceful body, and his gaze was full of passion. Beside her, Yi Xianxian looked somewhat impatient. I'll say it again. I already have someone I like. You mean that Liu Feng? The young man in blue smiled sarcastically. I've investigated that kid's background. He's just the son of a minor marquis and a useless person who can't cultivate. What makes him worthy of your favor? In every aspect, I am 100 times better than him. Upon hearing this, Yi Xuanxuan's brows furrowed even more. However, just as she was feeling troubled, a familiar face came into view, making her eyes light up. Chapter 28 Shot? At the same time Liu Feng left, another person also left the Liu family courtyard in the Marquis' mansion, alone on horseback with a sword, and left Kanglin County. Liu Feng is right. If I only focus on the position of a family head, I will only ever live in this small place called Kanglin County. Perhaps the outside world is more suitable for me. On the main road outside the city, Liu Qingxue, dressed in purple with her face veiled in black, glanced back at Kanglin City before quietly leaving and disappearing into the distance. In the Marquis' mansion, Liu Yuanba stared at the note in his hand, his hands trembling uncontrollably. In the end, he collapsed to the ground, completely limp. His daughter had quietly left, and he felt as if his backbone had been ripped away, instantly losing all his ambition and aspirations. However, after only a moment, he stood up again, a flash of hatred in his eyes. All of this is Liu Tianchen and his son's fault. You drove Qingxue away, and I will never let you get away with this. Just you wait. Xianzhou Academy. In the classroom of the yellow class, there were very few students attending class. Only an old-fashioned teacher stood on the stage lecturing, while the students below were mostly sleeping. The gentleman seemed to be used to this, simply holding the book in both hands and talking to himself with great enjoyment. Gentlemen. Just then, a voice suddenly entered the schoolteacher's ears, but he seemed not to hear it and continued to mutter his boring tales. Sir, may I come in? Upon hearing this, the old man slowly raised his head and looked in the direction of the voice. He was surprised to find a strange young man standing outside the door with a questioning expression on his face. Come in. The old man let out a hoarse voice and slowly nodded. In the yellow class, it was rare for students to be late because many people didn't come at all, so how could they be late? However, this student looks a bit unfamiliar. What's your name? The old man suddenly turned his head and asked. The young man cupped his hands in greeting. This student is Liu Feng. Oh, Liu Feng. The old gentleman nodded repeatedly, then looked at the book in his hands. But just a moment later, a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. What? You are Liu Feng? He remembered that name very well. He still couldn't quite grasp the meaning of that poem, The Brocade Zither. And this little boy in front of him was the author of that poem. It was unbelievable, truly unbelievable. After bowing to the old man, Liu Feng found a quiet corner and sat down. The old gentleman merely gave him a meaningful look before continuing his ramblings on classical Chinese. Below the classroom, a chubby boy sneaked into the seat next to Liu Feng when the teacher wasn't looking. The chubby boy sized up Liu Feng, then his eyes lit up, and he clicked his tongue in amazement, saying, Judging from your aura, your cultivation level has probably reached the 3rd or 4th level. It seems the rumors are not credible at all. After saying that, he extended his right hand. I am Jia Fu, from the Marquis of Qianzhong. Liu Feng's eyes lit up. The Marquis of Qianzhong was indeed surnamed Jia. The other party was unlikely to lie. He immediately shook the other party's hand, smiled, and said, It's a pleasure to meet you. After secretly checking Jia Fu's cultivation level, I found that his cultivation level was only at the peak of the 1st level. It seems that his cultivation aptitude is not very good. But thinking about it, it makes sense. Those with good cultivation aptitude rarely take the imperial examination route. They usually go to the military camp to advance their careers, which is where cultivators can truly shine. Jia Fu looked at Liu Feng with a burning gaze. Wow, you're amazing. I heard you've only been enrolled for less than 2 months, and you weren't even at school for a month, yet you still managed to accomplish such an earth-shattering feat. I'm truly in awe of you, big brother. Could you teach me a thing or two about your amazing skills at picking up girls? Girl-chasing skills? Liu Feng was somewhat taken aback. He knew nothing about girl-chasing techniques. In his previous life, he was a shut-in who never left his home and was a complete virgin. However, the other person's next words left him even more confused. Do you have that kind of relationship with Yi Xianxian? What kind of relationship? Liu Feng asked, looking bewildered. Chapter 29 Splitting Light and Shadow / Yi Xianxian took 2 steps to Liu Feng's side, grabbed the boy's arm, and looked very affectionate. He is the person I like, Liu Feng. Upon hearing this, Liu Feng froze instantly, then looked at the other person in disbelief, wondering if he had misheard. Yi Xianxian, the person involved, remained calm and composed, without blushing or panting. Upon seeing this, the blue-clad youth's face quickly darkened, and a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes as he stared at Liu Feng. He asked, Boy, are you Liu Feng? That's right. Now that things have come to this, Liu Feng has no choice but to bite the bullet and go for it. The young man in blue frowned and said, Leave Xianxian, and I'll give you a big reward. Liu Feng's eyes lit up. What benefits? However, as soon as he finished speaking, he felt a sharp pinch on the soft flesh of his waist, almost making him cry out. No, she's not a commodity. I absolutely cannot agree to this. Having learned his lesson from the previous painful experience, Liu Feng quickly changed his mind. A cold glint flashed in the blue-clad youth's eyes, and his tone became much sharper. "Humph, you are not worthy of her at all. Lord Yi would never agree to hand over his daughter to you, a useless son of a county marquis." Liu Feng ignored him, saying, "Then you don't need to worry about it. I'll persuade her father. Do you know who I am? I am Lin Yuntian, the eldest son of the Lin family in Xianzhou Prefecture. Your stubbornness may bring you disaster, and even your family and relatives will be implicated." The young man in blue had a hint of intimidation in his words. Yi Xuanxuan's pretty face turned cold. "Lin Yuntian, don't go too far." "What did you just say?" At this moment, Liu Feng's tone also turned icy cold, and a murderous intent shot out from his eyes. He hated nothing more than someone threatening him with his family, and Lin Yuntian's words undoubtedly touched a sore spot. "Do you dare to make a bet with me? Let's fight right here. The loser will be kicked out of the academy and never be allowed to appear in front of the other again." Upon hearing this, a hint of joy flashed in Lin Yuntian's eyes. He was afraid that Liu Feng would keep hiding behind Yi Xianxian, which would make it impossible for him to do anything about it. At the same time, his contempt for Liu Feng increased even more. A piece of trash is a piece of trash. He fell for his tricks after just a little provocation. In fact, although the Lin family is powerful, it is not something that he alone can call the shots. On the other hand, the Liu family is, after all, a noble family under the protection of the empire, and it is not something that the Lin family can easily manipulate. "Liu Feng, don't be impulsive. You are no match for him." Yi Xianxian gripped Liu Feng's sleeve tightly and tugged at it a few times. She was telling the truth. Lin Yuntian was already a 5th-level swordsman, while Liu Feng was... No, this aura... Just then, an astonishing aura emanated from Liu Feng, clearly reaching the peak of the 3rd rank. Yi Xuanxuan's beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. "You can cultivate?" "I made a small breakthrough not long ago," Liu Feng said casually. She remembered that when she saw Liu Feng a little over a month ago, she couldn't sense the slightest energy fluctuation. Now, only 2 months later, he had already advanced to the peak of the 3rd rank. This was no small breakthrough. His cultivation speed was simply astonishing. So the rumors were false. "You were hiding your cultivation level. It's only at the 3rd level. I can defeat you in one move." Lin Yuntian's expression also changed slightly. He couldn't imagine that Liu Feng's cultivation level had soared to the 3rd level in 2 months, and assumed that the other party was hiding his true cultivation level from others. "I can beat you with just 2 fingers," Liu Feng said expressionlessly. Hearing this, Yi Xianxian looked at him in shock. Defeating Lin Yuntian with just 2 fingers was something even she, a 6th-level swordsman, couldn't do. Did Liu Feng really have that ability? "Ha, kid, are you still half asleep? You think you can take that?" As if he had heard the best joke in the world, Lin Yuntian burst into wild laughter. Until now, no one had ever dared to speak to him like that. 2 fingers to defeat him? What's more, his opponent was just a mere 3rd-tier swordsman. What kind of joke was this? Liu Feng looked slightly impatient. "After all this whining, can we start doing it now?" These words ignited the fury in Lin Yuntian's chest like a spark. He then let out a series of cold laughs. "Very well, since you're so eager to die, I'll grant your wish." With a heavy step forward, Lin Yuntian unleashed a deafening explosion, sending out an endless gust of wind that pressed down on Liu Feng with a chilling aura. The wind made Liu Feng's clothes flutter wildly, and the fallen leaves on the ground nearby were blown into the air, raising clouds of dust. Liu Feng's eyes narrowed, his sword fingers joined together, his body standing still, like a towering solitary peak that has stood for 1,000 years. No matter how strong or fierce the wind was, it could not move him in the slightest. Lin family sword, light-splitting shadow slash. Lin Yuntian's expression suddenly changed, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes. The next moment, his figure suddenly became blurry, and a semi-transparent gray shadow shot straight out from his figure, heading straight for Liu Feng. It's the unique skill created by Lin Chaonan, the head of the Lin family, the splitting light and shadow slash. This is terrible. Yi Xuanxuan's face showed shock, and then a look of worry flashed in her eyes. Lin Chaonan's splitting light and shadow slash is a renowned sword technique throughout Xianzhou Prefecture. It is said to have 3 levels, and apart from Lin Chaonan, no one in the entire Lin family has cultivated it to the 3rd level. Lin Yuntian in front of him has only mastered the 1st level. With his mastery of the splitting light and shadow slash, Lin Chaonan once defeated a sword sect expert who was a level above him, and from then on, he became famous throughout the world. Although the swordsmanship is superb, the person wielding the sword is not very good. This sword strike has too many flaws. Liu Feng immediately saw the weakness of the sword strike, so he began to retreat rapidly the moment Lin Yuntian drew his sword. Lin Yuntian sneered, "Humph, do you think you can escape? No matter how fast one's movements are, they can't outrun the sword energy condensed from true qi." The distance between the gray shadow and Liu Feng was reduced in the blink of an eye.
Now,
with a flick of his sword finger, Liu Feng unleashed a fierce and unparalleled sword aura, slashing at the back of the gray shadow. Several crack sounds rang out, and the gray shadow, like a toy without power, quickly lost its power and collapsed and disappeared.
What?
It was broken just like that. Yi Xuanxuan's face was filled with horror as she stared at the astonishing scene before her. Damn it, how did he figure that out? Lin Yuntian's face was slightly pale. The splitting light and shadow slash relied on the true energy behind him to transmit energy in the form of threads. These threads connected the body and the light and shadow. Once the true energy lines were broken, this move would naturally collapse on its own. Not only did he lose most of his true energy, but it also caused a considerable backlash. How did this guy see through his swordsmanship? Did he fight against the Lin family before? I absolutely cannot lose. Lin Yuntian gritted his teeth. Putting aside the fact that he wanted to get Yi Xianxian, his reputation as a genius alone would not allow him to fail, especially not to a 3rd-tier swordsman, a nobody known as a good-for-nothing. Admit defeat, Liu Feng said calmly. You're dreaming. Lin Yuntian's face turned ugly, and he said ferociously, My cultivation is 2 levels higher than yours, and my true energy is much more abundant. You can't possibly outlast me. Truly stubborn and incorrigible. Liu Feng shook his head, then slammed his toes into the ground and shot towards Lin Yuntian like an arrow. Humph, Lin family sword, rending wind. Lin Yuntian was not one to back down. Seeing Liu Feng rushing towards him, he advanced instead of retreating, thrusting out his sword. The long sword trembled rapidly, accompanied by a shocking explosion that tore through the air. Invisible. Liu Feng made his move, his incredibly powerful magic gathering into sword energy. The stunning sword light condensed into a single point, moving through the void without any obstruction. Even the sound of wind being cut completely disappeared, creating an illusion of deafness. This world seemed to have come to a standstill at this moment.
Puffed.
Lin Yuntian's sword pierced Liu Feng's chest, but it only went in halfway before it could not go any deeper, because a hand gripped the sword tightly, dissipating most of the force. Haha, you lost. Lin Yuntian exclaimed excitedly, because his sword had injured his opponent first. No, you lost. Look at your chest. It wasn't Liu Feng who spoke, but Yi Xianxian. Looking down at his chest, Lin Yuntian's smile froze instantly, for he was shocked to discover a terrifying, gaping hole in his chest, just inches from his heart. His entire body had been pierced through. How is this possible? Lin Yuntian looked somewhat lost and staggered, loosening his grip on the sword hilt and taking several steps back. Liu Feng had shown mercy. That sword strike was enough to pierce his heart. In a life-or-death battle, he would have died on the spot long ago and would have had no chance to injure his opponent. The most shocked person present was Yi Xianxian. Although she didn't like Lin Yuntian much, the two families had a good relationship, and she had a deep understanding of his strength. Even she couldn't defeat him so easily, but Liu Feng did it. What happened during the month he was gone that turned someone who couldn't cultivate into such a terrifying prodigy? Chapter 30. No sword in hand, but a sword in heart. Liu Feng's ability to so effortlessly wield a sword in his finger stems entirely from a swordsman's state of mind, having no sword in hand but a sword in heart. Swordsmanship doesn't necessarily have to rely on a sword. In fact, many things can be used instead. Back in Xingyao ancient city, Liu Feng once used a spear instead of a sword to perform the 3 quick sword techniques, without being limited by the weapon itself. This is the so-called influence of realm. Generally, only geniuses in swordsmanship can comprehend this realm of having no sword in hand but a sword in the heart. For ordinary people, once they lose their sword, the power of their moves will be greatly reduced, or they may even lose the power of the swordsmanship itself. That's the difference. During the fierce battle just now, a lot of students had gathered around to watch. When they saw that Liu Feng had won, they couldn't help but gasp in astonishment. How can someone who looks like this be associated with the word useless? Unbelievable. Liu Feng actually defeated the Lin family's heir. That's terrifying. He defeated his opponent with just his fingers. Is the difference in skill between them really that great? Impossible. After all, he has a 5th level cultivation level. I think it's not that Lin Yuntian is too weak, but that Liu Feng is too strong. The surrounding students pointed and whispered, clearly astonished by the unexpected outcome. At the same time, Liu Feng's standing in their eyes rose dramatically. Some had initially been itching to challenge him, but now they had to abandon that idea. Even the arrogant Lin Yuntian had been defeated by Liu Feng. With their meager abilities, challenging him would be nothing short of asking for a beating. This battle undoubtedly established Liu Feng's prestige in the academy. Many female students around him were immediately captivated, casting flirtatious glances at him and expressing their admiration. Liu Feng already had a reputation as a great talent, and now he had displayed such formidable martial prowess, making him a man of both literary and martial talents. In addition, he was also very handsome, with an ethereal air about him in his white robes. Therefore, it was not surprising that these female students would be attracted to him. Liu Feng frowned. He noticed 2 sword marks on his left hand, which had been gripping the sword, with bright red blood flowing out from them. "You're injured," Yi Xianxian said with some concern. "It's just a minor injury." Liu Feng shook his head, then looked at the disheveled Lin Yuntian with some pity. "You should take him to see a doctor first." Although no vital organs were injured, Lin Yuntian's chest had been pierced by the sword energy, and he had just suffered a huge blow. At this moment, he looked weak and blood stained his entire shirt, making him look extremely miserable. Yi Xianxian asked hesitantly, "Are you alright?" "What matters isn't my injury but what you did." Liu Feng's tone suddenly turned cold. "If this had happened a month ago, I'd probably be the one lying on the ground right now. When you use someone as a shield, please consider their feelings. I don't want this to happen again. Also, there is no relationship between us, not now and not in the future. I hope that such unfounded rumors will stop spreading." After saying that, Liu Feng turned and left. Although he had feelings for Yi Xianxian, it didn't mean he would become a tool for her. He wasn't the kind of fool who would risk his life just to win a smile from a beauty. Perhaps he was overthinking things, but if there's a first time, there's no guarantee there won't be a second. This time it was just the Lin family's heir, but if a prince's son appears next time, will he have to bite the bullet and step in? Watching Liu Feng's departing figure, Yi Xianxian felt a strange pain in her heart. In fact, she had only done this out of desperation. She originally wanted to make up someone to deceive Lin Yuntian, but for some reason, the first image that came to mind was that person with a wicked smile on his face. In her haste, she could only say Liu Feng's name, but she did not expect it to cause such serious consequences. She wanted to explain, but she didn't know how to begin. She knew that simply saying, "I'm sorry," wouldn't be enough to make Liu Feng forgive her. "I'll just have to find another time to explain it to him." Yi Xianxian shook her head, then helped Lin Yuntian up from the ground and gradually disappeared from the crowd's sight. The next day, Liu Feng was still asleep when he was woken up by an academy steward. Although he was very unwilling, he obediently followed the steward to the academy's central building, Huiyuan Building, after hearing that the person who summoned him was Mr. Su Zhongshu. Having been in the academy for so long, he had only heard the name Su Zhongshu and had never even met him. Of course, if he hadn't skipped the first class, he wouldn't have never met Mr. Su, since he had condescended to teach in the yellow class to teach Liu Feng. Isn't this a sign they're going to fire me? With mixed feelings, Liu Feng knocked on Mr. Su's door, and a slightly aged voice came from inside. Come in. Pushing open the door, Liu Feng saw a familiar figure. Wasn't it the proctor from the entrance exam that day? Liu Feng? Please have a seat. When Mr. Su saw that the person who came was Liu Feng, his eyes lit up, and he immediately stopped what he was doing and said with a smile, Hello, Mr. Su. Liu Feng bowed politely, and seeing that the other party did not speak, he asked, I wonder what brings you here, sir? Of course it's something important. Mr. Su nodded and smiled. Wait a little longer. The other person should be arriving soon. I'll explain everything once everyone is here. There's another person? Liu Feng looked puzzled. Why did Mr. Su call them here? And who could this other person be? Although he was puzzled, he was eager to ask, knowing that everything would be clear once that person arrived. I heard there was a fight in front of the dining hall yesterday. You and the Lin family's son got into a brawl, and it even ended in bloodshed. Is that true? Mr. Su suddenly asked. Liu Feng's expression changed slightly. Why was this matter brought up? Did the old man call him here to hold him accountable? Just then, with a creak, the door was pushed open. Hello, Mr. Su. A clear, crisp female voice came from behind. Upon hearing that incredibly familiar voice, Liu Feng suddenly turned around, and his expression immediately changed in surprise. Who else could it be but Yi Xianxian who had entered? Oh no, the person involved has been summoned. They've come to interrogate me, just as I thought. Liu Feng thought to himself that things were going badly, and hurriedly said, Sir, actually, what happened yesterday wasn't entirely my fault. I was completely forced into it. Before he could finish speaking, Mr. Su waved his hand to interrupt him, saying, I'm not interested in this. Liu Feng said helplessly, Then how does the gentleman intend to deal with this? As long as I'm not fired, I'm willing to accept any punishment. Having prepared for the worst, Liu Feng was ready to accept punishment. Expelled. Mr. Su looked somewhat surprised. Why would I expel you? I called you here because I have something important to tell you. This matter concerns the future of both of you. Everything else is trivial and need not be mentioned. Huh. Upon hearing this, Liu Feng was immediately stunned, then an embarrassed look appeared on his face. It turned out that he had misunderstood. He could only laugh self-deprecatingly and change the subject, asking, Sir, what is this important matter you are referring to? A good opportunity. Mr. Su's expression also became much more serious. Thanks to Lord Situgu's efforts, His Majesty plans to hold a special civil service examination before the Imperial examination this year to select talents from outstanding students all over the country to enter the Hanlin Academy. The Hanlin Academy, a place coveted by all scholars, not only gathered the most elite literati of the entire empire, but also served as the emperor's advisors. Imperial memorials and edicts were frequently discussed here, and most of the famous scholars were also teachers of the royal children, wielding great influence over the entire dynasty. Generally speaking, only the top 3 in the imperial examination can enter the Hanlin Academy. Other candidates lose this qualification and can only enter other departments of the empire. But now, such an opportunity has been presented to Liu Feng. Chapter 31 Imperial Examination. For this written examination, each of the 12 prefectures has 2 places, plus the Imperial Academy has 6 places, for a total of 30 people. The top 3 will have the opportunity to enter the Hanlin Academy, and the first place will be personally awarded the position of Hanlin Academy Academician by His Majesty. Upon hearing this, Liu Feng's eyes lit up. A Hanlin Academician was a 4th-rank official in the Empire, equivalent in rank to a county marquis, but in status far above that of a county marquis. One was merely a local official responsible for protecting the people and maintaining order, while the other was the emperor's secretary. Local officials were inherently of lower status than officials in the capital, and the difference in their power and position made them incomparable. This is an excellent opportunity. If he wins the top prize in this written examination, he will surely be able to leap over the Dragon Gate and soar to great heights. After discussion among several of our professors, the school has decided to send the two of you as representatives to participate in the imperial examination. We will depart for Shuejing City early tomorrow morning. Do either of you have any objections? Mr. Su asked, looking at the two men before him. We respectfully submit our decision, sir. Liu Feng and the other man said in unison. Mr. Su nodded. Very good. Then you should go back and get some rest. Meet at the school gate early tomorrow morning. There will be carriages waiting there. Yes. Liu Feng and Yi Xianxian exchanged a glance, and a hint of excitement could be seen in each other's eyes. After all, the reward for this literary examination was too generous. It directly granted them the position of Hanlin Academician, which was rare in the history of the empire. Only an emperor like Emperor Qingqian, who valued literary style, would hold such a special literary examination. After asking some detailed questions, the two left the room one after the other. Only Liu Feng and Yi Xianxian remained on the corridor outside. I'm sorry. Yi Xianxian gritted her teeth, as if it took a lot of effort to say those 3 words. Liu Feng paused slightly, then said calmly, No need. You didn't do anything wrong. There's no need to apologize. After saying that, he prepared to leave. Liu Feng wasn't particularly fond of the 3 words, I'm sorry, which seemed like a cure-all. If so many things could be resolved with just an apology, there wouldn't be so much conflict in the world. Wait a minute. Yi Xianxian grabbed his sleeve, her expression slightly conflicted. After hesitating for a dozen moments, she said in a low voice, I know it was wrong to use you as a shield, but you're the only male friend I have in the entire academy, so I said your name in a moment of panic. Please don't be angry anymore. Liu Feng, who was originally prepared to ignore all kind words, suddenly brightened up when he heard these words. He was actually her only male friend. Ahem. Liu Feng coughed lightly, slowly turned around, and looked at Yi Xuanxuan's pretty face full of guilt. His heart softened a lot, and he felt his anger subside. Actually, he wasn't that angry. The only thing that made him angry was that he didn't know anything and had inadvertently offended an enemy. At least, she should have told him first. If Yi Xianxian had asked him for help earlier, he definitely wouldn't have refused. But then I thought about it, and it didn't make sense. He hadn't been at school for a whole month. Even if the other party wanted to discuss it with him, they probably wouldn't be able to find him. Thinking of this, his dissatisfaction dissipated considerably, but he did not intend to let the other party off so easily. Simply saying sorry isn't enough. You need to show your sincerity with concrete actions. Liu Feng's tone suddenly changed, a faint smile appearing on his face as he took the opportunity to get closer to Yi Xianxian. How do you mean it? Yi Xianxian involuntarily took a step back. This is very simple. You just need to promise me one thing. A mysterious smile appeared on Liu Feng's lips as he spoke, his gaze lingering on the girl's pert breasts. When Yi Xianxian noticed that Liu Feng's gaze was fixed on the part of her body she was most proud of, she felt a surge of shame and anger. Could it be that the thing he asked her to agree to was something shameful? Don't worry, how could I be that kind of person? Liu Feng said with a smile. I haven't thought it through yet, but it won't be anything that will put you in a difficult position, and it's within your capabilities. What do you think? Yi Xianxian looked at Liu Feng with suspicion. Could she believe what this guy was saying? You can't even fulfill such a small request? It seems you're not sincere in apologizing to me. Oh well, I was overthinking it. Goodbye. Liu Feng feigned a sigh, looking regretful, and turned to leave. However, before he could take a few steps, he heard the girl's hesitant voice. I promise you. As soon as he finished speaking, Liu Feng turned around abruptly, a smug smile on his face, staring at the girl in front of him with a hint of malice, and approaching her step by step. Forced to retreat, Yi Xianxian blushed and said angrily, You said you wouldn't make things difficult for me. Of course I won't make things difficult for you. Liu Feng said with a playful smile, bringing his face less than an inch away from the other person, then taking a deep breath. A look of extreme enjoyment appeared on his face. It smells so good. You scoundrel, I'll kill you. Seeing Liu Feng's lewd appearance, Yi Xianxian immediately flew into a rage, brandishing a gleaming sword, which instantly frightened the boy into disappearing without a trace. I haven't thought it through yet, I'll talk about it later. Liu Feng's voice echoed. The sounds of laughter and play gradually faded away, and the empty corridor slowly returned to tranquility. The next morning, Liu Feng threw all his clothes and dry rations into his void ring, and after confirming that nothing was left behind, he set off. Outside the academy gate, a four-wheeled carriage was parked by the roadside. When Liu Feng arrived, Mr. Su and Yi Xianxian were already waiting in the carriage. After everyone had arrived, they embarked on their journey to Xuejing City. The carriage was very spacious, about 4 or 5 meters long and wide, and was pulled by 2 pure white horses. Under the driver's whip, the carriage sped away for dozens of meters in the blink of an eye, and the scenery on both sides rushed past and became a blur. So fast. Liu Feng's eyes lit up. This carriage was much faster than those in period dramas from his previous life. Its speed was comparable to that of domestically produced cars. This chasing stars and chasing the moon isn't actually that fast. Yi Xianxian rolled her eyes at him, somewhat unsurprised. Our family's wind and thunder god's chariot is 4 or 5 times faster than this. It only takes half a day to get from Xianzhou Prefecture to Xuejing City. This chariot will take at least 4 or 5 days. So fast. Liu Feng's eyes widened. He originally thought this carriage was already at its maximum speed, but he didn't expect the other party to say that there were carriages that were 10 times faster. He really found it hard to believe. This carriage is powered by those 2,000-mile snow horses, which can travel 1,000 miles a day. But the wind and thunder ghost god carriage is different. It is pulled by 2 Xian-level demon beasts, the wind and thunder leopards, and can travel 5,000 miles a day. Yi Xianxian continued to explain.
What?
5,000 li. Liu Feng's eyes almost popped out of their sockets, his heart churning with shock. What kind of concept is traveling 5,000 li a day? That's comparable to the speed of an airplane. Using a Xian-level demon beast as a means of transportation, just that kind of audacity is astonishing. Yi Xianxian curled her lip in disapproval. That's not even the fastest. The most terrifying one is the Golden Dragon Chariot, ridden by the Emperor of the Empire. It is powered by 4 golden-armored demonic dragons, which are of the highest level and can travel 8,000 miles a day. At this point, Liu Feng was too shocked to speak. It was truly terrifying to compare people like this. A sec-level demon beast, the golden-armored demon dragon? This being, which was almost invincible in Liu Feng's mind, was actually being used to pull a carriage. The power of the royal family was indeed terrifying. Chapter 32 Encounter with Bandits. Night fell quickly, and thick clouds moved slowly across the sky, covering everything. Sir, it looks like it's going to rain. Why don't we find a place to rest for the night? The crisp sound of horses' hooves grew louder as the carriage driver suggested from afar. Upon hearing this, Mr. Su also stuck his head out of the carriage, looked up at the sky, and frowned. The next Imperial post station was not far from here, and he had originally planned to rest there tonight, but it seemed that the gloomy weather would prevent him from doing so. Let's walk a little further. I remember there should be a small town ahead. We might have to rest there tonight, Mr. Su said, pointing in the direction ahead. The driver nodded. He had been traveling this route for quite some time, and he naturally knew where the small town the other person mentioned was. After walking for a while, some lights came into view in the distance. It really is a small town. The town was not large, and there were no myriad lights as one might imagine. Only a few scattered lights dotted the area, illuminating the dim town somewhat. In a short while, Liu Feng and his companion's carriage had already entered the town and were heading deeper into the town along the street. The sound of horses' hooves had already awakened many people, and lights were turned on in many houses. The noise was chaotic, clearly indicating that they were looking for something. Soon, Large groups of people rushed out from both ends of the street, carrying all sorts of crude weapons, including farm tools such as hoes and sickles. Who goes there? What are you doing in our Baishui town? The man in the lead was shirtless, holding a large, blunt-bladed knife, his eyes wary. Seemingly disturbed by the noise outside, the curtain of the carriage was slowly lifted, revealing the face of a stunningly beautiful young woman to the crowd. So beautiful. Almost everyone's eyes lit up instantly, captivated by the woman's beauty. Yet, they harbored no romantic feelings for her. Her beauty was pure and ethereal, unlike the alluring charm of ordinary women. The woman was none other than Yi Xianxian. She jumped off the carriage and glanced at the fully armed crowd around her with some curiosity. "We're just here to ask for lodging. We have no other intentions." As soon as he finished speaking, a few murmurs immediately arose from the crowd. It turns out she wasn't a bandit, but a beautiful fairy. Snap! As soon as he finished speaking, the man was slapped hard on the head. The burly man next to him glared at him fiercely. "Who says bandits are all big and burly? Don't be fooled by appearances. This man could very well be a spy sent by the bandits." The man looked completely innocent and retorted, "If she's a spy for the bandits, then you're the bandit leader." The leading man was still somewhat skeptical of Yi Xuanchuan's words. It was the middle of the night, and the area within 100 miles of Baishui town was deserted. How could someone be seeking lodging there? Could they be adventurers? That didn't seem like it. At this moment, Liu Feng also got off the carriage, shook his head, and suddenly punched a large hole in the ground with his palm. "We're just here to ask for lodging for one night, and we'll leave tomorrow. Is that all right with you?"
Glug.
Looking at the large hole in the ground, the shirtless man swallowed hard, staring at Liu Feng in horror. He could easily pierce the ground with a flick of his wrist. What would happen if he hit a person? "Of course, I have 3 empty rooms at home, just enough for the 3 of you to stay," the man said with a smile, not daring to hesitate for a moment. He then waved to the others and said, "Everyone disperse. These are not bandits." Upon hearing this, most people turned around and went back to their own homes, leaving only a few people to watch the spectacle. "Bandits? You mean there are bandits around here?" Liu Feng suddenly asked. The man nodded, the smile on his face gradually fading, and then a hint of hatred appeared. It seemed that he hated the bandits very much. However, he finally sighed and said, "Young hero, you don't know this. The reason why our Baishui town has become so poor is entirely due to the bandits in the vicinity. Originally, our Baishui town was a relatively wealthy place, mainly because there used to be a gold mine in the southern forest. However, after decades of mining by the Empire, the gold mine was almost depleted, and several mine shafts were abandoned one after another, leading to the decline of Baishui town." "What does that have to do with bandits?" Liu Feng asked, somewhat puzzled. "Young hero, please let me finish," the man paused, then sighed. "Although we no longer have the gold mine, we've managed to live quite well thanks to this forest. At least we can live and work in peace. But a few years ago, a group of bandits suddenly appeared. Their leader was called Golden-Eyed Leopard Duanhu. He was said to have retired from the Iron Xian Guard and wielded a halberd. Almost no one could stop him. The nearby towns had all been robbed by him, and they dared not speak out against him." Liu Feng frowned. "Why didn't you report it to the authorities?" "We've tried it, but it didn't work. It seems that Duan, who has some connections in the prefecture. The prefect doesn't care about this at all. Several times he just sent people down symbolically, without even seeing a shadow of the bandits. He just randomly grabbed a few people and took them back to report. Meanwhile, Duan, who is still living a carefree life." "Oh, is that so?" Liu Feng looked slightly surprised. Such collusion between officials and bandits was not uncommon in his previous life, but he never expected to personally encounter such a story-like event in this life. Normally, he might consider helping with this kind of thing, but perhaps there isn't time to solve it for them right now. Besides, he doesn't know the extent of the bandits' strength, and if he rashly goes to them, he might fall into their trap. However, just as he was deep in thought, the ground beneath their feet suddenly began to shake violently. Liu Feng's expression changed slightly, and he turned his gaze to the direction they came from. The violent shaking gradually became clearer, and the sound was clearly the sound of rapid hoofbeats. The bandits are here. The shirtless man looked closely and saw dozens of people riding horses rushing towards the town gate. He was so frightened that his soul almost left his body. Run! The man immediately took off running. Looking back, he saw dozens of bandits rushing towards them, all dressed in tight-fitting clothes. Each bandit raised their swords. The man immediately shouted to the surrounding area of the town, "The bandits are here! Golden-eyed leopard Duan who is here." However, his cries did not cause much of a reaction. Not many people rushed over after lighting the fire, and some even complained. But once they saw the real bandits, they all started shouting. The bandits have really arrived. Everyone panicked. Although they were armed, they were like lambs to the slaughter compared to the vicious bandits. If a real battle broke out, they would probably be routed and blood would flow like rivers. The bandit leader was a one-eyed man with a golden eye patch over his right eye. His eyes, which were scanning the crowd, gleamed with a cold light. "Listen to me. Hand over half of the town's grain and 20 young women, or else not a single one will be spared." Seeing this, Liu Feng smiled instead, taking half and keeping half. It seems that Duan who does understand the principle of slow and steady wins the race. The reason these people didn't take all the grain and women, leaving some for the town, was simply so they could come back again and not be left with nothing to rob. This is a common tactic used by mountain bandits. "You despicable bastard, you killed my brother last time, die." In midair, a gust of wind flashed by, and an iron shovel, carrying immense force, slammed down on a bandit's head.
Boom!
The sound was deafening, and the bandit's head was instantly smashed open, blood flowing everywhere. At the front of the crowd, a burly man was breathing heavily, staring at the bandits with hatred in his eyes.
Huh?
"He actually killed one of my brothers. Brothers, wipe out Baishui town. Kill all the men, and take all the women with you." Duan, whose face turned cold, he was now truly enraged. As soon as those words were spoken, all the bandits' eyes turned fierce, and they were about to charge out. Just then, a slightly cold voice suddenly came from the crowd. "If you want to destroy this town, you'll have to ask my sword for permission first." It seems Miss Yi has quite a sense of justice. Liu Feng's lips curled into a smile as he looked at the slender figure slowly emerging from the crowd. Upon seeing the figure in front of him, a burning light immediately appeared in Duan Hu's eyes. Chapter 33: Fierce Battle with the Bandit Leader. What a pretty girl. Duan Hu's eyes roamed over Yi Xuanxuan's body, almost to the point of drooling. He had been with nearly 100 women, but he had never seen one as exquisite as her. He had never even seen one, let alone touched one. This trip was worthwhile. Duan Hu's eyes gleamed with greed. He then winked at a lean bandit beside him. "Go, bring this little beauty to me. But be careful, or I'll kill you." "Yes." The lean man accepted the order, kicked his horse's belly, and spurred it forward, charging directly towards the blue-clad figure. Just as he was about to reach her, he suddenly reached out his hand, ready to capture the girl in one fell swoop. Foolish. Liu Feng sneered inwardly. Even he wouldn't dare to be so arrogant in front of Yi Xianxian, let alone the fact that she was just a mere 4th-level swordsman. However, not everyone could see things as clearly as Liu Feng. Most people were worried when they saw this scene, and some even covered their eyes because they couldn't bear to see the girl being captured.
Click.
A crisp snapping sound rang out, and the next moment, a scream was heard as a hand slammed heavily to the ground. Before the splattered blood could even hit the ground, a second crack rang out, and the lean man's head flew high into the air. Even as it rolled to the ground, his face still bore an expression of disbelief. What? Duan Hu's face was grim. With just 2 sword strikes, his trusted general was instantly killed, without even a chance to come to his rescue. Amazing! The usually arrogant and domineering bandits who plundered everywhere could not withstand a single sword strike from this girl. They also had a vague impression of the lean man, who was Duan-Hu's capable subordinate. He was killed so easily. Who are you? Duan-Hu wasn't a fool driven by lust. Having been in this business for so long, he had some discernment. Just now, when the other party's aura erupted, he sensed that the other party's cultivation level was at least at the 6th level. Such a high level of cultivation at such a young age meant that the other party was probably a genius from some powerful family. A dying person doesn't need to know so much, Yi Xianxian said coldly. Phew, I'll capture you right now, and see if you're still so tough in bed. A cold glint flashed in Duan-Hu's eyes. Although Yi Xianxian might be a member of a powerful family, it was only a possibility. Besides, even if she was, who would know about this now that he had killed everyone present? In his view, apart from Yi Xianxian being a bit troublesome, as long as he gave the order, his men could kill all the others in no time. Thinking of this, Duan-Hu leaped off his horse, took out a dark black longsword about 3 feet and 5 inches long, and slashed a sharp black sword beam at Yi Xianxian. He wanted a quick victory, so he immediately used his treasured sword, intending to subdue the woman in front of him in one fell swoop. Once he subdued this woman, he could slowly kill the others, since none of them would escape. However, facing this fierce sword strike, Yi Xuanxuan's face remained unchanged. She simply slashed out with her backhand, accompanied by a dazzling aura of red and blue. Seeing this, Liu Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. He had once heard Bai Guobing mention that one of the special skills of Yi Tianhao, the lord of Xianzhou Prefecture, was the 5 divine swords of heavenly annihilation. The 5 colors of sword energy represented different attributes. Red and blue represented ice and fire, 2 completely different properties. If one could master all 5 colors of sword energy, its power would probably be enough to split mountains and rivers. However, even Yi Tianhao could only use 4 colors of sword energy, not to perfection. Yi Xianxian was able to use 2 of them, which was already quite good. Beside him, Mr. Su looked somewhat worried. If we had known this would happen, we should have rested at the Imperial Post Station. Then, he glanced at Liu Feng and asked curiously, Liu Feng, why didn't you go up and help? I'm afraid there's no need for that. She alone is enough to take care of this bandit leader. Seeing the suspicious look on Mr. Su's face, Liu Feng smiled and shook his head. Sir, I am probably far inferior to you in scholarship, but you are inferior to me in swordsmanship. The 2 of them are about the same level. In terms of the exquisiteness of swordsmanship and the level of swordsmanship, Xianxian is far superior to her opponent. She just lacks experience in fighting and lacks a sense of killing intent. But I believe that with her intelligence, she will soon be able to narrow this huge gap in experience in the battle. Therefore, I conclude that the outcome will be decided in no more than 20 rounds. This kind of murderous intent cannot be accumulated by killing 1 or 2 people. It requires killing hundreds or thousands of people to condense within one's body, forming an invisible aura of malevolence. When facing an enemy, it creates a subtle deterrent, causing the enemy to lose their courage. Of course, this murderous intent is basically useless against someone with abnormally strong mental power like Liu Feng. Mr. Su nodded, then looked at Liu Feng with some surprise. Although he didn't know much about swordsmanship, could such a principle really be explained by an ordinary swordsman? The bandits and the townspeople inadvertently retreated a distance, leaving enough space for the 2 in the center. Sharp sword energy filled the entire area, dazzling the eyes. The ground was already riddled with gullies, and stone chips were flying everywhere. On Liu Feng's side, almost everyone held their breath, watching the battle between the 2 with bated breath. If the woman on the field lost, they would all be doomed. After more than a dozen rounds, the battle finally took a turn. Unable to break through after a prolonged attack, Duan-Hu grew enraged. With a roar, he channeled an overwhelming surge of powerful true energy into his dark sword, making the black sword energy even sharper and imbued with a destructive aura as he slashed towards the blue figure before him. He's using his ultimate move. Liu Feng's eyes lit up. Yi Xianxian remained calm and composed, letting out a delicate shout. Her red and blue sword energies intertwined with the black sword energy, producing a series of sounds as the air was shattered, before suddenly exploding apart. The powerful energy scattered and struck many people who couldn't dodge in time. However, while everyone was afraid of being unable to dodge, Liu Feng's eyes were fixed on the figure in the arena. The energy couldn't cause him any harm at all. After the smoke cleared, Duanhu's face turned grim, and he suddenly launched a hidden weapon at Yi Xianxian. A trivial skill. For battles of their caliber, hidden weapons are not very effective because you have to use your inner energy to build up your power before you can throw a hidden weapon. At that time, your opponent will often be aware of it in advance. Moreover, at such a distance, even if they do not notice it beforehand, it is very difficult to injure the enemy. Yi Xianxian directly cleaved the incoming hidden weapon with her sword, but she did not expect that the moment the sword touched the hidden weapon, it would produce an amazing explosion. A thick green mist quickly spread out and enveloped the girl's figure. After inhaling the dense green fog, Yi Xuanxuan's figure began to tremble slightly. Ha! You've fallen for it, haven't you? You're still too green to fight me. Duanhu laughed wildly, his face full of triumph. He had spent a lot of money to buy this bewitching azure lightning. Anyone below the sword master level who was hit by this thing would become completely powerless and might even fall into a coma. He originally intended to use it to save his life in the future, but he didn't expect it to come in handy ahead of time. Looking at the dazed girl opposite him, Duanhu sneered and swooped down like a wild goose, intending to subdue her first. With a gleam in his eyes, Duanhu could hardly contain his lust. After subduing the girl, he would take her back to the mountain's stronghold first, where he could do whatever he wanted with her. Such a beauty was truly exhilarating. Yi Xianxian was already in a semi-dizzy state and didn't even know what was happening outside, so how could she possibly dodge this attack? Chapter 34: Fighting Evil with Evil. Yi Xianxian actually lost. In Baishui town, almost everyone closed their eyes and sighed inwardly. Was such a beautiful woman, who looked like a fairy, going to be defiled by this filthy thief? At this moment, Duanhu felt increasingly exhilarated. He was about to capture this stunning woman in front of him. He would be willing to give up 10 years of his life just to sleep with such a beauty. Suddenly, a chilling aura suddenly rose from behind him, causing Duanhu's heart to tremble slightly, as if a pair of sharp eyes had seen right through him. This is an intense killing intent. Russell. The steps were slow, but at this moment they felt like the approaching Grim Reaper, each step treading on Duanhu's heart. Who exactly is it? Duanhu's heart trembled, and unable to suppress the chill in his heart, he turned his head away inch by inch.
Call out.
Just as Duanhu turned his head, a cold light suddenly pierced through the void in the darkness, incredibly fast, and shot straight through his neck. You? Duanhu's eyes were wide open, the life force in them rapidly fading away. Until this moment, he still didn't know who had killed him. The other party hadn't even given him a chance to look at them. The life in his eyes quickly faded, and with a thud, Duanhu's body collapsed.
Hiss.
Everyone, including the bandits, gasped in shock, staring at Liu Feng with utter astonishment. Apart from the dead Duanhu, almost everyone present witnessed Liu Feng flicking his finger and sending out a sword strike that instantly killed Duanhu. Duanhu, who was usually infamous and almost invincible for hundreds of miles around, couldn't even withstand a single sword strike from this young man. In the blink of an eye, his neck was pierced, and he was dead beyond any doubt. Such an unbelievable scene, yet now it is laid bare before us in a bloody mess. However, Liu Feng didn't see it that way. He knew very well that his ability to instantly kill Duanhu was largely due to luck. It wasn't because of the vast difference in strength between the two, but because Liu Feng seized the opportunity, grasped the overall situation, and unexpectedly attacked his opponent with the intent of despair. This created pressure invisibly, instilling fear in Duanhu, which resulted in an unexpected and miraculous effect. Originally, Duanhu only had the cultivation of a mere 5th-level peak cultivator, and should not have been a match for Yi Xianxian. It was only due to various factors that he was able to fight the girl for more than 10 moves, and in the end, he only managed to win by resorting to despicable means. Therefore, Liu Feng's swift defeat of Duan, who, though seemingly simple, actually involved many complex factors. Under everyone's gaze, Liu Feng slowly stepped forward, drew his long sword, wiped the blood off it, raised an eyebrow, and his gaze fell on the group of bandits opposite him. Sensing the coldness in Liu Feng's gaze, the bandits felt uneasy. They had all witnessed the terrifying scene just now, and now Liu Feng was like a devil in their eyes, capable of deciding their lives in an instant. Young hero, spare our lives. We were forced into becoming bandits by Duan Hu. We were originally law-abiding citizens. Please have mercy, young hero. One of the bandits, unable to withstand the pressure, dismounted and knelt down to beg for mercy. Yes, I have a 70-year-old mother to support, and a wife and children to care for. Please, young hero, spare my life. The younger one is the same? Once this started, almost all the bandits dismounted and begged for mercy, kneeling down on the ground. Seeing this scene, the people of Baishui town couldn't help but click their tongues in amazement. Who would have thought that these fierce and treacherous bandits would kneel on the ground and beg for mercy? I don't really want to kill you, Liu Feng said with a smile. Just as the bandits were overjoyed, he changed the subject. But you have to ask the people behind me if they agree. If they agree to let you go, I will let you go. Upon hearing this, the bandits' expressions changed and then turned ugly. It seemed that the other party had no intention of letting them go so easily. It was one thing for them to kneel and beg for mercy from a powerful figure like Liu Feng, but it was a bit hard for them to beg for mercy from these country bumpkins. These townspeople were usually seen as objects to be plundered, as insignificant as weeds, and not worth mentioning at all. Kill them, someone in the town shouted first. These beasts have committed countless evils. Not a single one of them should be spared. Keeping them alive is a disaster. They might come back to steal our food and women in the future. We absolutely cannot let them go. The crowd was filled with rage, shouts rising and falling. They had long hated the bandits to the core, wishing they could personally stab them in the back. How could they possibly let them go? How about this? Liu Feng said with a smile. I counted, there are 24 of you in total. I'll give 4 of you a chance to live. You just need to kill the other 20 people, and then you can leave. Upon hearing this, the bandits all looked alarmed. Only 4 out of 24 people could survive? That meant that nearly 90% of the people here would die, and only 1/10 would have a chance to live. Even though these people were desperate criminals who lived on the edge, they hesitated when faced with their own comrades, and for a moment none of them made a move. I'll count to 3. If no one is dead by then, you'll all die together. A cold glint flashed in Liu Feng's eyes, and he immediately began counting. 1, 2. Each character seemed like a demonic chant, striking the hearts of every bandit and driving them to the brink of madness. 3.
Click.
No sooner had the words left his mouth than a strange thing happened in the bandit group. A flash of light swept past, blood splattered, and a fine head flew off, rolling several times on the ground. Even as he died, the bandit still wore a look of shock on his face. He never imagined that someone who usually called him brother would kill him. Qiangzi, you actually killed old Wang? Several bandits looked coldly at the one who made the first move and surrounded him. So, what if I kill him? I haven't lived enough yet. Brothers, get him. At his command, several other people behind him formed a small battle formation and charged forward. Damn it, let's go all out. Immediately afterwards, more people joined the battle, and soon, more than 20 bandits were engaged in a chaotic melee, fighting each other to the death. Most of these people were ruthless, so they were extremely vicious when they attacked. Heads flew off one by one, and arms fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, there were less than a dozen surviving bandits left, and almost all of them were injured. Some had lost their hands and feet, while others had their chests pierced and were dying from their injuries. The scene was incredibly bloody, but few of the onlookers felt any pity, because these people had already killed countless innocent civilians before this, and their current fate was well-deserved. Before long, only 2 bandits remained on the field. One had lost an arm and was covered in wounds, while the other had a deep gash in his chest and abdomen, with his internal organs writhing visible in the shadows, a truly horrific sight. These 2 were the last survivors of the 24 bandits. Ha, I survived. I didn't die. However, this smile didn't last long. His body collapsed, lifeless. He had died from blood loss at such a critical moment. You can leave now, Liu Feng said calmly, glancing at the last bandit. Leave. The man's face was contorted with madness. My brothers are all dead, and you want me to leave? You demon, I'll haunt you even in death. Ah.
Buffed.
The last bandit cursed Liu Feng viciously before slitting his throat and committing suicide. In less than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, this band of bandits who had plagued the surrounding area was wiped out. Incredibly, they all died at the hands of their own people, without the bandits expending any effort on their part. The townspeople all turned their gazes toward Liu Feng, their eyes filled with shock. All of this was done by this miraculous young man. With just a single sentence, he had caused these bandits to fight each other to the death. Of course, they understood that all of this was based on overwhelming strength. If Liu Feng did not possess such superb swordsmanship, these bandits might very well turn against him and fight like cornered beasts. Shaking his head, Liu Feng felt no regret whatsoever. These people were all wicked and deserved to die. They were not worthy of sympathy. The bandits are dead. Everyone go back to sleep. As Liu Feng finished speaking, the townspeople cast grateful glances at the boy to express their thanks, before gradually dispersing. Just as Liu Feng was about to leave, he inadvertently caught a glimpse of the strange phenomenon occurring in the distant night sky, and couldn't help but gasp. What is this? Chapter 35 Sword Sect. In the vast starry sky, a dark cloud gradually drifted over from the distant horizon. As the dark clouds drew closer, Liu Feng finally saw their true form. For ghostly figures dressed in white carried a huge carriage, 13 feet long and 6 feet wide, its entire body gleaming with a dark light. It did not appear to be made of wood, but rather carved from a special material, exuding an eerie and sinister aura. Could it be a ghost? Liu Feng frowned. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any such creatures as ghosts in this world. By channeling his mental energy to its limit, Liu Feng's eyesight magnified several times over, allowing him to see the black shadow in the air more clearly. In front of the carriage, there were 2 young figures in black guarding the left and right sides. As the carriage approached, 2 faces came into view. One of them was none other than Lin Jin, who had appeared in the Black Cloud Wilderness that day. To be able to walk in the sky, could it be a sword sect expert? No, sword sect experts fly directly on swords. It's impossible for it to be so strange. It must be that they have cultivated some kind of special martial art that allows them to float in the air for a short time. Besides, the number of sword sects in the entire Northern Snow Empire is very small, so how could they possibly send out 4 at once? Even so, the auras of those people had all reached the peak of the sword master level, so Liu Feng could conclude that the people in the car must be sword sect experts. A sword sect expert. That's an expert on par with the 12 palace masters, capable of flying and escaping into the earth, with his strength reaching its peak. He's practically unmatched in this empire and can almost be considered a super expert. However, Liu Feng had no idea that the sword sect expert in midair had a close relationship with him, even though they had never met. The dark clouds gradually receded, and the carriage slowly left Liu Feng's sight, disappearing into the distant horizon. Only after the dark cloud completely disappeared did Liu Feng slowly breathe a sigh of relief. Anyone who comes down from there would be someone he couldn't withstand. They could probably kill him in an instant. Mr. Su seemed to have noticed something and gave him a strange look. What did you see? From the beginning, he noticed that Liu Feng was staring at the sky, but when he followed his gaze, he could only see a blurry black cloud in the sky, and nothing else. If I said I saw a person, would you believe me? Liu Feng suddenly asked with a smile. However, before the other party could answer, he picked up the unconscious Yi Xianxian from the crowd and called the shirtless big man to leave together. How is that possible? Mr. Su's expression changed, and he hurriedly looked up at the sky, his face full of disbelief. Although he was a scholar, he had heard of the sword cultivation system. For example, Yi Tianhao, the prefect of Xianzhou, was someone he knew well, and the other party was a sword sect expert. Could that dark cloud just now be the figure Liu Feng mentioned? But even if it's a sword sect expert, there's no need to be so alarmed. It could very well be one of the 12 palace masters. He shook his head and then turned to leave. Upon arriving at the shirtless man's house, they were immediately given 3 excellent rooms. Liu Feng went to Yi Xuanxuan's room first, as Yi Xianxian was still unconscious. He could use his magic to help her expel the poison. If left untreated, she would probably not wake up until tomorrow morning, and it would also have some side effects on her brain. The room was small, containing a bed, a table, a chair, and an oil lamp hanging on the wall. The lamp emitted an orange glow, barely illuminating the entire room. "Young hero, please rest well. If you need anything, just let me know, and I'll be there whenever you call." The man standing at the door couldn't hide his joy. The bandits were all dead, and their Baishui town could finally live a good life. This was a great joy, and the biggest contributor today was the young man in front of him. He couldn't let the young man feel uncomfortable in the slightest. Liu Feng nodded, then took out some silver and said, "There's nothing else for now. Please keep an eye on our carriage. Also, this is for the room fee. Please accept it." "How can I accept this?" The man quickly waved his hand. Liu Feng had helped them a lot by eliminating the bandits, and they could even say he had saved their lives. He was too busy repaying his kindness to accept money from him. "All right, you should go back and rest too." Seeing that the other party insisted on not accepting the money, Liu Feng did not insist. Although people in these small places do not have much money, they are very straightforward. Once they have made up their minds, no one can change them. The man was about to leave, but then seemed to remember something and asked cautiously, "By the way, young hero, we found a lot of gold and silver on those bandits, and we also found a brocade pouch on the bandit leader. We have already packed the gold and silver, and you can take it away tomorrow." "Oh!" Liu Feng's eyes lit up. He had forgotten that since Duan, who used to be a member of the Iron Xian Guard, he should have some sword techniques. He immediately said, "Let me see that brocade pouch. As for the other gold and silver, you can take it and divide it up. Don't refuse this time, or I will be unhappy." Seeing that Liu Feng's expression had changed, the man didn't say anything more and could only nod. He then took out a brocade pouch from his waist and respectfully handed it to Liu Feng. "Then I'll go downstairs first." The man's face was beaming with joy as he left the room. After the other party left, Liu Feng waved his hand, and the room door closed automatically and tightly. Liu Feng entered the storage pouch and ignored the piles of gold and silver, beginning his search for the sword technique manual. Soon, just as he expected, there was indeed a manual in Duan Hu's storage pouch, but it was not a swordsmanship manual, but a body-strengthening martial art. The manual was clearly inscribed with the 4 characters, celestial body, and although it appeared somewhat dim, it subtly exuded an aura of extraordinary strength. After flipping through the manual and glancing at it, Liu Feng gained a general understanding of the Heavenly Gang Physique. The Heavenly Gang Physique is a high-level human-rank body-refining martial art with 2 levels. Upon entering the realm, one can condense a layer of Gang Qi around the cultivator, providing passive defense. If one masters it, the Gang Qi will solidify into armor, making one impervious to heat and cold, and invulnerable to swords and spears. However, the cultivation of the Heavenly Gang Physique is extremely difficult. After condensing Gang Qi on the body surface, it is necessary to continuously temper it with true Qi in order to completely stabilize it. Even if a person has high comprehension, it will take 2 or 3 years to get started and at least 10 years to achieve mastery. I reckon this tiger hasn't even mastered the first level, otherwise I wouldn't have killed it so easily, Liu Feng thought to himself. If Duan who were to master the heavenly gang physique, it would likely become twice as difficult for Liu Feng to kill him. After putting away the manual, Liu Feng glanced at Yi Xianxian lying beside him. Next, he would have to help her get rid of the poison. After straightening the girl's body, Liu Feng gently placed his palm on her pink back. An extremely pure magical power flowed from his palm into the girl's body, entering the meridians of her limbs and bones, and began to dispel the toxins. The demonic power within Liu Feng's body was far purer than the true energy of ordinary people. Coupled with his powerful mental strength, the detoxification process was completed in less than half an hour. It seems that this magic power is much stronger than true qi in every aspect. Liu Feng sighed inwardly. Although his path as a magic swordsman was difficult, his starting point was higher than others. If he could keep moving forward, his achievements would naturally be much greater than those of ordinary people. Liu Feng slowly exhaled and glanced at Yi Xianxian. After carefully examining the other person's exquisite features, he clicked his tongue slightly. Only now could he truly see what the other person looked like. Even in her sleep, she was still so beautiful and charming. He got out of bed quietly and closed the door, leaving only the sleeping beauty still in her dream.